This morning, Donald Trump announced that he plans on putting 100% tariffs on Canada if Prime Minister Carney goes ahead and makes a deal with China. Now, this is a stark turnaround from what Trump was saying just 8 days ago. Now, I'm sure none of us are unfamiliar with Trump being erratic and unstable, so the fact that he would completely change his tone on this is not surprising, especially coming off the heels of Mark Carney's Davos speech, which has been widely hailed by world leaders and the media in many countries, not just Canada or America, but all around the world. Carney's speech kind of captured the attention and praise of a lot of people. In my opinion, I think Trump takes that personally because obviously a lot of Carney's speech is subliminally going at Trump and the Americans. I think Trump feels slighted by it. I also think he feels a little bit jealous that his speech didn't garner the level of acclaim that Carney's did, which, yes, because when Trump speaks, he sounds like a raving lunatic and madman, and Prime Minister Carney is actually elegant and well-spoken and delivered a thoughtful and intelligent speech, whereas Donald Trump sounds like a dementia patient. Obviously, this is my own perspective I'm inserting here, but I think a lot of people around the world agree with me, which is why Carney's speech was so lauded overall. And I have my issues with Carney, but I did think that that was a great moment on the world stage from him. And so I think Trump, in response to that, kind of wants to humiliate Carney or kind of do a little revenge seeking towards him. But this is what Trump was saying just 8 days ago after Carney's initial meeting with the Chinese leaders like Xi Jinping, and when he initially announced the new strategic partnership he had developed with China. Personally, I'm a fan of that development. I think Canada needs to diversify its trading partners, especially away from America. We're way too reliant on America. I'm Canadian. I think the way that our decades-long policy of economic and diplomatic integration with the States has occurred has left us weaker and more volatile and less sovereign, honestly, because we rely so much on the States that it's harder for us to chart our own course. But yeah, this is what Trump said just a week ago about the initial deal between Carney and the Chinese leaders.
Well, that's okay. That's what he should be doing. I mean, it's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that. Well, that's okay.
It's a good thing for him to sign a trade deal. If you can get a deal with China, you should do that. That's what he initially said. You know, there were others in his administration who were bashing the deal out of the gate, but Trump was like, hey, go ahead. He was all for it, apparently. But now, after the Davos speech, after, in my opinion, Trump feels slighted, he wants to humiliate Carney, go after Carney. So now he says, this is what he said in his Truth Social post earlier today. If Governor Carney thinks he is going to make Canada a drop-off port for China to send goods and products into the United States, he is sorely mistaken. China will eat Canada alive, completely devour it, including the destruction of their businesses, social fabric, and general way of life. If Canada makes a deal with China, it will immediately be hit with a 100% tariff against all Canadian goods and products coming into the U.S.A. Thank you for your attention to this matter. A few things about this. First of all, I think it's notable that he's saying Governor Carney, because as you all remember, when Trudeau was still in office at the beginning of Trump's second term, this was the line he used against Trudeau, along with his 51st state comments saying that Canada should be part of the U.S.A. He was calling him Governor Trudeau, but when Carney came into the office, he seemed to initially have more respect for Carney than he did Trudeau, and he actually called him Prime Minister Carney, for the first year, seemingly, of their relationship. But now, again, in the wake of this Davos speech and Trump clearly souring on Mark Carney, now he's gone back to that same petty insult, which is not just petty, but of course, as a Canadian, we take this as a slight on our sovereignty. It's a diminishment of our sovereignty. But here's what I will say, and I think this is very important, and that is that this is a moment where Canada has two choices it can make, two paths it can take. Because on the one hand, if we concede to Donald Trump here, if we say, okay, Trump, if you say so, we don't want to be tariffed 100% by America, so we're going to go back on our deal with China. If we give in to what he's saying here just to avoid the 100% tariffs, which on a side note, do we really think that he's going to stick to that? I mean, we all know by now the whole taco trend, Trump always chickens out. I really think that it's not a serious threat. There's no reason to take it seriously. He's done this with pretty much every country he's tariffed. He goes insanely high, he bluffs, and then after a while, after the markets freak out, he goes back on it anyways. I think there's no reason to give in to his demands, no reason to take them seriously. But beyond that, let's say we do take them seriously and our government here in Canada decides, okay, like we're not going to do a deal with China because we don't want to face these 100% tariffs. In my opinion, what that does is actually verify and validate Donald Trump's claims that we're just the 51st state, or that we should be. Because if we can't even dictate our own foreign policy, if we can't make our own trade deals, choose our own trading partners, and set the terms of those deals, then how much sovereignty do we actually have? I mean, okay, we'll still have a better social welfare system. We'll still have public health care. We won't have ICE Gestapo running around in the middle of the streets executing Canadians, right? It still won't be as if Canada is exactly the same as the United States. But what it would show is that we don't really have much sovereignty of our own. We'd more so be like an autonomous community of the United States. If the United States can simply come in, bully us into making the foreign policy decisions that the Americans want us to make, then actually we don't have very much sovereignty. And in that case, him calling him Governor Carney is actually more apt. And although I still find it gross and demeaning, I mean, at the end of the day, politics is a dirty game. Trump is obviously a terrible person, so that's not surprising. I'm not clutching my pearls offended by it, even though I do think he's dangerous and an idiot for saying it. But what I'm saying is that if Carney and his government do give in to this to any extent, that actually diminishes our sovereignty so severely that we may as well not be our own country. The second path that Carney and our government can choose to take, the one that I implore them to take, because if they don't, like I said, it's not only an embarrassment, but a complete denigration of our sovereignty. We're ceding control of our entire foreign policy and trading relationships to the United States and Trump. But what they need to do is call Trump's bluff. You want to tariff Canadian imports into the States at 100%? Do it. All right, as a Canadian citizen, and I know that many, if not most, of my fellow Canadians feel the same way, we don't give a fuck. Tariff us at 100%, because any short-term economic pain, and of course, if Trump did that and actually followed through, again, I don't believe that he would. I feel like he'd do it for a month or two and then back off, because Taco, he always chickens out. But even if he actually followed through for an extended period of time, I would rather, and I know many, again, if not most, of my fellow Canadians would feel the same, I would rather deal with short-term economic pain that would be caused by a rupture in our trading relationship with 100% tariffs on all products. I would rather deal with that short-term economic pain, but have that lead to long-term economic independence. All right, because right now we are economically and diplomatically dependent, militarily dependent on the United States because of the decades-long policy that Canada has chosen of just integration with the States and ceding to them when it comes to military, foreign policy, etc. And again, the deepening of our two economies. I would rather the short-term economic pain of being tariffed 100%, if that means that we can continue making deals with countries like China, with countries like Qatar. I want to make deals with pretty much any country who is willing to be a stable trading partner, regardless of whether we agree with them politically, culturally, or not. That is not how you run a country, is deciding, oh, we don't want to do deals with China because we don't like that they're run by a communist party, or we don't want to do deals with this country because we don't agree that they're a monarchy, or whatever. You know, do I agree with the politics of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, whatever? No, but I don't care. I still want to make deals with all those countries if they can be reliable trading partners. Same with India, same with any of these countries where I may have my own issues as a left-wing Canadian with how they run their governments in a more right-wing or autocratic manner. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't trade with them. If you run your foreign policy that way, especially as a middle power, as a smaller country population-wise like Canada, I mean, then we're done for, right? We're going to get eaten for breakfast. You know, you can't be holier than thou in the realm of geopolitics when it comes to especially trade deals and things like that. Now, I'm also a big proponent of more self-sufficiency at home, more industrialization here, but not just industrialization, just more self-sufficiency. You know, I want to be able to grow food here to feed our own population. I want to be able to produce our own technology. I want to be able to provide our own services across every sector. I want to be self-sufficient at home, but in a world of globalization, that's a long-term project. So alongside the long-term project of increasing self-sufficiency, and that includes militarily and everything as well, I also want to diversify our trading partners and have such a large portfolio of countries that we import and export with that, you know, no single country has such a grand hold on our economy and foreign policy, like is currently the case with the States. I would rather us have great trading relationships with 150 countries who all make up between 0.5 and 5% of our trade and economic integration than just have deals with America and a few other countries and have them predominate our trading portfolio. I mean, that's just classic risk management. We need that diversification in our economy. So what I need right now, and if this doesn't happen again, then it gravely concerns me and tells me that we don't have much national sovereignty if our government gives in to these Trump threats. But on the other hand, if we can call Trump's bluff, which I think is imperative and super important, then to me, that is a reclamation, an affirmation of our national sovereignty. It tells the states, go ahead, pick on us, do what you want to us, save from invading us with your military, then there's nothing you can do that's going to make us come to heel, that's going to make us allow you to dominate our own national decision making. And so I would rather take that short-term economic pain of 100% tariffs while continuing to expand our trading partners abroad and diversify our trading partners abroad, than I would listen to the U.S. and cede to their demands, basically preventing us from doing the trade deals that we want with other countries. I mean, that would just be simply pathetic if our government allows that to happen. So I implore Carney, I implore our government to call Trump's bluff, tell him, okay, you want to tariff us? Fuck it. Tariff us. We don't care. Do what you want. Your citizens are going to be paying more for our products. You're going to have less access to our critical minerals, our potash, our produce, our agriculture, our timber. Go for it. Do it. It's okay. We're willing to take that hit in order to further our independence long term. And now the last thing I do want to bring up here that is concerning is that our Minister of Internal Trade, Dominic LeBlanc, has already came out with this statement, which for me is worrying and seems to be a sign that they might be going in the direction that I think would be terrible for us, which would be to kind of give in to the United States and Trump's threats here. But what he has said is, as the Prime Minister said this week, Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in our economy and security, and we will remain focused on ensuring the future of that relationship will benefit workers and businesses on both sides of our border. There is no pursuit of a free trade deal with China. What was achieved was resolution on several important tariff issues. Canada's new government is building a stronger Canadian economy with a plan that is building our strength at home and strengthening our trading partnerships throughout the world. Now, you could say these comments about strengthening trading partnerships throughout the world and such is an indication that they don't plan on going back on the China deal. But even if that's the case, I just hate the framing of this. You know, there is no pursuit of a free trade deal with China. I mean, Trump didn't even accuse you of that. You look at Trump's original tweet. He just says that China will eat Canada alive, that China's going to make Canada a drop-off port for them to send goods into the United States. There wasn't even an accusation of pursuing a free trade deal with China. So I don't know why he feels the need to be like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. Don't worry, don't worry. I just think that's some... I don't know how to say it politely, so I'll refrain from using the language I want to use, but that's some very weak and cowardly language there, in my opinion, because again, like, you weren't even accused of this, and now you're like, oh, don't worry, we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it. No, we need to stand strong. The Canadian citizens are willing to do that, and we want our government to follow suit. We don't want you to lie down and roll over in your own shadow. We want you to stand strong and say, fuck you, Donald Trump. We don't care. Tariff us. Go for it, big dog. Do it. So I hate this type of language, this weaselly, scared, cowardly sounding language. Oh, don't worry. There's no free trade deal, even though you didn't accuse us of having one. And then even this first part where he's like, oh, don't worry, we're so focused on the US and Canada partnership. We have such a great partnership in our economy and security, and we're so focused on ensuring the future of that relationship. No, fuck that. We don't care anymore. These people cannot be trusted. And it's not just Donald Trump, because not only has so much of his administration gone along with it, but if you follow the American right and how they feel about this stuff, it's coming from the top down, but they all agree with it. So this is a danger that we face. Maybe in 2028, if there's a free and fair election in the States, maybe there will be a Democrat that comes into office and tries to fix our relationship. But then maybe in 2032, another crazy far-right lunatic Republican gets in office and this same shit happens again. We cannot play this game anymore. I don't care who's in office. I don't care if the most left-wing progressive Democrat, who I would even support, wins in 2028. I don't want this focus, this rhetoric to be on, oh, how great and special our relationship and partnership is. Like I said, let's have a trading relationship with them. Let's be adults. Let's try to make a practical deal. But this type of deep woven integration in the economy, security, diplomacy that we have with the States is toxic, it's corrosive, it's destroying any semblance of our national sovereignty. And if we as Canadians care about being separate and distinct and having our own national title, unity, and sovereignty away from the States, which I believe in strongly because I believe that the type of politics that exists in the States holds us back from being as strong as we can be as a nation. I want a better government jobs program. I want to build this country up, our infrastructure, our healthcare system. I want to stop the increasing privatization of our healthcare system. I want a public system that is strong. I want to invest more in doctors, nurses, all types of healthcare workers, healthcare technology. I want to invest more in building new homes, building new infrastructure. I want to build this country from the ground up, and I don't want to rely on the insane people down south. Okay, and obviously not all Americans, and I'm sure most Americans are great people. And I feel like the MAGA movement, these psychotic people who are now running the government, I know it doesn't represent all Americans, but it represents a sizable enough chunk of not just the American public, but especially when you talk about powerful Americans, the oligarchs, the billionaires, the titans of industry, and the political class. There is such power from that movement. And even besides that, I feel like even if, again, America was just, the most liberal, progressive place, I still want more sovereignty at home. But I think especially what has been highlighted by the second Trump administration and by the MAGA takeover of the American political system, political power, the way that they've, had this decades-long plan where they've put all sorts of judges in place. They're starting to replace the bureaucracy, the buildup of ICE, kind of their own personal army with the veneer of immigration enforcement. But as we've seen, it's become weaponized against American citizens as well. It's like Trump's own domestic police force, just going after his political enemies. America is in a dark place, and I hope America gets better. But from a Canadian perspective, I don't care about remaining focused on ensuring the future of our relationship with the United States. I don't care about our remarkable partnership. I want us to stand 10 toes down. I want us to say, fuck you, Donald Trump. You can't bully and boss us around. Go ahead and put your tariffs on. We will call your bluff. That is what not only we should do, but that's what we need to do if we want to have any semblance of being our own sovereign country. Because otherwise, fuck it, we may as well be the 51st state.